welcome. I'm in a mix of chaos at the beginning of 2023. You can see if you're watching the video behind me, I'm in the studio and we're going through some renovations and some removal lists. So it's not my usual shiny video, peeps, but it's all right. The audio's good, the travel mic's on. And today I'm excited to launch today's episode at the beginning of 2023 with such an amazing topic with an amazing guest. I've got J.Go on the show, who's going to be talking all about body confidence and self-love, something that we all need, especially after those Christmas kilos, right?
Yes. Thanks for having me, Rebecca. I'm so glad to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, this episode is going to go to air post-Christmas. So with that in mind, we'll frame the conversation based on people have overindulged. You know, we've had a great time. It's been festive season. But before we dive into the whole confidence piece, give me a bit of background on you, like why you do the work that you do, what got you to that point. Tell me all the things.
Yes. Okay. So let's see. How did it get to here? Basically, if I'm going to keep it short, I went to school for exercise and sports science. So very much in the fitness background. I started teaching group fitness and I quickly realized with fitness and dieting, there was so much pressure on, trying to get smaller and trying to, lose weight, which nothing wrong with that, but it was in a form of hating yourself in order to do so. So you were punishing yourself for the food that you ate during the holidays. So you need to work out more or this, that, and the other. And over time, I started to realize like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a different way to approach this. And so I personally started to shift my relationship with my body. I started to go into the gym, and instead of focusing on getting smaller, I focused on getting stronger. I started to focus on what food made me feel good instead of trying to go on a diet. And all of these things really broke up all that, the self-worth connection to my size that I had for so long, where I thought, if I was smaller, then more people would like me or I'd feel more confident. And that's just not the case. You could be in a different size and still step into your confidence, and you should embrace your body where you're at, even if it does change in the future or in the past or whatever. So I basically started doing this for myself, and I started to train clients in the gym. And then I really shifted into the mindset component because I quickly realized, oh, when you're trying to make changes with your body, your mindset is so wrapped up in that when it comes to your self-confidence and your self-worth. And so I started to do that. And I've been helping women, step into their confidence, feel good naked, and just really embrace who they are without feeling like they need to constantly apologize for it.
I love that so much because we're surrounded by it, right? We're surrounded by that pressure and the pressure we put on ourselves. I mean, I know we've all been guilty of it. It's a lot of work to get us to a point where we look in the mirror and go, yeah, you look great today. Let's go. But it takes a lot of work to get there. Now, you've obviously come from a fitness background. We're very different people, very different people. I'm not sporty in the slightest. For people that aren't in that background of fitness, it can be one of those pieces that is scary to get into, particularly, I'm in my early 30s. The thought of going to the gym and not knowing how any of that stuff works scares the living daylights out of me, right? Like, so where do you start with people that don't have that fitness background?
Honestly, they're my favorite. I know, you're like, what is this energy that I just woke up to? So, I work with a lot of people because I know that gym-timidation is the term that I'll use. Gym-timidation is real. So you walk into a gym and you can feel really intimidated. And that's in any environment where you just feel like there's a lot of unknown around you, right? It just feels a little bit like I'm not in my comfort zone and it's scary. And it's easier to just go home. It's easier to just not do the workout or not do any of those things. And so I always say, like, start with small shifts. So maybe if right now you're just getting into moving your body again, it could just be starting with daily walks outside. And then it could turn into maybe you do, some YouTube videos at home. And then when you start to get a little more comfortable moving your body, you can get some dumbbells, do some weights, or you can go into the gym and, find a space that feels comfortable for you. And I will tell you, as someone who, like, I, again, taught in the gym, I know how people's minds work with it. everyone is so focused on their own ish. They're so caught up in like their own stuff, whether it's their own self-confidence issues or just their own workout, to where they're not worried about you. So don't worry too much about it.
I love
Um,
that. I love that. I compare that to video too. It's like no one's watching your eyes do the weird thing that only you can see them do. Like,
we're so caught up in it, right? We're so caught up in our own stuff. And so if you start to just kind of get uncomfortable a little bit when it comes to your workouts, maybe you try just going to the gym, but you stay in the cardio corner. That's okay. Maybe the next time you try a class, or, you do try one of the exercise videos. YouTube is great. You can typically look up something and figure out what it is, but just start small and then slowly start to branch out, and you'll get more confident. And give yourself some grace. Don't beat yourself up if you're not a professional Olympic weight training athlete by the time leave the gym that day. So that's really my little bits of advice. I hope that was helpful.
oh, it's super helpful. I mean, you're talking to someone now that has a gym in their garage, and I've never used any of the things. Like we had the gym equipment in our spare room in our apartment, and we've just bought a house in the country, and all that gym equipment went to the storage locker because we needed the space. And then that gym equipment's now in the garage. And I think I've been with my husband now, well, 6 years. I think we've been together in total. We've probably used it 3 times in that time. Like, we are those people that just go, I've got all the gear and absolutely no idea. So starting small is
Yes.
probably a good place to go. But you don't just do the exercise piece, right? And this is what I find interesting. It's the food stuff as well.
Mhm.
I love on your website I was scrolling through earlier. Like I want to eat my ice cream with like no side of guilt. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, I mean, I did eat a whole tub of Ben and Jerry's last week, so I didn't
Love
feel
Ben and
guilty. It's
Jerry's.
all about
Love
that.
it.
Um, but how do you balance that out? I mean, particularly here in Australia, I know that a
Mhm.
lot of friends for me have grown up with weight conscious parents who were always trying to do
Mhm.
the healthy way of cooking and the healthy way of food, and that has sort of siloed into conversations and the food that people cook and how they perceive it, being made or what have you. How do you navigate that when it's so entrenched in people's upbringing in terms of, oh, you shouldn't cook with butter, for example?
Yeah. So it's crazy. That's why I said when I started doing this, so much of it, mindset is so wrapped up in this. And even our generational, like things that are passed down through us, are wrapped up in food and how we move our body, and even our own self-worth around our body image. And so with my clients, I try and help them break up with the shoulds, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I should be eating this, I should be working out, or the way we talk about ourselves and the way we talk about food. So the first step is to just kind of audit, like, how am I speaking about myself right now? How am I speaking about my body? It's very quickly, it's easy for us to want to beat ourselves up for, if you guys are coming out of the holidays, having eaten more, maybe you haven't worked out in like a week or a month or a year, and all you can think about is all you feel like you should have done this past year. And instead of allowing yourself to step into like what's possible for you when it comes to movement, when it comes to food, you're getting caught up in what you've been taught as a child, and also just like you're feeling like you're missing the mark as far as your goals. And so I talk to my clients about releasing the guilt, whether it's brought on by parents or relationships or whatever, or yourself, and start to just focus on, well, what can I focus on? What can I add? And so when it comes to food, instead of being like, oh, I have to stop eating sweets and I have to completely go on this diet and, restart, like that isn't helping, because you probably in the past, if you're listening to this, have maybe done a diet before, and you started it and maybe you did it for 30 days or even 2 months, who knows? But then at some point, you went back to the way that you were eating before and you felt guilty. And then because you felt guilty, it led to overeating, because you're like, oh, it's a cheat day or it's just whatever. And so that gets you wrapped up in feeling guilty again. And then when you feel guilty, what's the reaction? Well, I need to go back on a diet. And you get stuck in this guilt habit loop where you're just constantly feeling bad about yourself. Whereas if you take the pressure off, like I was talking about, if you take the pressure off of thinking you have to be perfect with your eating, and you just allow, if I want to have Ben and Jerry's after dinner, I can. But instead of thinking like, well, now I have to eat the whole tub. This was me, by the way. I have to eat the whole tub because I'm going to be starting fresh tomorrow. Like I'm going to be good tomorrow. And so I need it out of here. And so what was out of here, I need to eat all of it, and then I'll start over tomorrow. And so instead I started to with my clients, I'm like, well, what if you told yourself, I'm going to have a serving of this And if I really want more, I'm going to have it for breakfast tomorrow. I'm going to tell myself I can eat it for breakfast tomorrow. If I really want more, I'll have it tomorrow. And like that little step of just allowing yourself, like, okay, it's not restrictive anymore. Maybe you do, or you wake up the next morning, you don't actually want it. And so having a little bit of that balance can be a good start, and just taking the pressure off of trying to do everything perfectly. And then finally, what can you add into your diet? Instead of trying to take things out, maybe try to add more greens into your food, maybe try and add more movement into your day. We're so focused on what we feel like we shouldn't be doing and what we need to take away. We're not actually thinking about the habits and the mindsets that we should be implementing into our life to really step into that, healthy living, that whatever that is for your definition.
I love that. And you mentioned should a few times there. Like for me, someone taught me a long, long time ago, like should, could, like, should, what does that mean? That's just an added pressure that you put on yourself to please others, right?
Mm.
To please that outside energy. And so that has been removed from my language for a very long time now. Like I should do this. Well, no, I mean, I could. Do I want to? So it's that kind of balance. So I love that you've brought that in, because it is a negative word. It's that
Mhm.
should piece. On previous podcast episodes to me, I've talked about how we should, we feel like we should be doing stuff over Christmas with family, and we should be here and we should be there, when all we really want to do is just sit and just probably decompress from what
Yeah.
has been a crazy couple of years. But people are listening now. They're tuning in. They've probably done those fad diet start things, but they're culturally ingrained, right? This episode's out beginning of Feb. We've done Christmas. We've done January. Like, oh, we'll try those New Year's resolutions. There are some of them will work and some of them won't. I'm not a fan of the New Year's resolution, but starting in Feb, what are the things language-wise that people can do to help them get out of that guilt habit, that guilt circle that you talked about? And how can they educate the people around them that that language isn't okay either?
Mm. I'll start with just the language in general first, because I think that's something to be aware. And remember, I'm always coming back to like release any sort of guilt, because you might become really self-aware about things that you're doing. And then all it does is lead to more guilt, because you're like, now I'm noticing that I'm always saying should all the time and all of that. And so I would say just kind of become self-aware. So words like you said, should is a big one. Just because it's again, you're feeling guilty about it, saying things like, this sounds like crazy, but if you just say, I'm trying to do this, like I'm trying to eat healthier, I'm trying to do this. And the thing about that word is we're saying that because we're so afraid of failure and actually going all in on something that we want to create change in our life, that we're just tiptoeing it. We're barely dipping our toe and actually trying and actually doing the thing. So we say, I'm trying, that way if we fail, well, I didn't say I was actually going to do it. I just said I was going to try.
I
And
gave it a
so
shot. I've let myself off the hook now. Yeah.
exactly. So if you shift those and actually, instead of saying I try, say I will. It sounds scarier to be like, I will eat healthier. I will start, prioritizing my own needs over my business, or I will start, walking every single day, or walking 5 times a week, or whatever. That sounds scarier, but if you get specific with it, it'll actually lead to you creating change, instead of you continuing to feel caught up in excuses and guilt, which is not where we want to sit, because that's not helping anything.
And that's almost the base of manifestation, right? It's
Mhm.
the knowing that it will happen. It's the knowing that
Exactly.
it is going to be that way. So the more hesitation you put in it, the harder it is.
Yep.
If you just
That's
go all
huge.
in. Mm.
I love that you hit on that with manifestation. So that's like a big thing that I help my clients learn: the power of our words, learn the power of our mind, and how that all relates to all of these goals. Because I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect between people that are already doing the manifesting and understanding the mindset, and they're doing self-development, but then other people, they're still thinking that their main goal when they started this year in January was, I need to lose weight, I need to eat healthier. Maybe you do, but also I want you to ask yourself, if this was something that you did start January thinking that you wanted to be healthier, lose weight, I want you to ask yourself why. Like, get to the
Mhm.
root of why you actually want those types of changes. And then you can decide, maybe that goal is actually different than what you thought it was, because you're saying that you need to lose weight. Maybe it's because you feel like you should lose weight because everyone's giving you that pressure, but really you just want to feel confident in your skin, or you just want to, be able to take care of your kids or have a high quality life, whatever it is. But that's just a different shift, is if you ask yourself why and get deeper to the root of that'll make goals and continuing on things a whole lot easier.
Oh, so much so. And when you were saying that, it got me thinking about our wedding day, right? So we got married at the beginning of April last
Oh.
year, or this year, 2022. Um, and COVID had been a crazy, stressful time. My business went a bit nutso. Like, everyone needed video and live streaming when they were at home. So I was crazy, flat out busy. And so, everyone was finding their own stresses, and we put on a few kilos. We're all good with that. But I realized as we were running up to our wedding, um, neither of us were even that slightest bit bothered about crash dieting, any other thing. Like, absolutely didn't even cross our radar until we were like 4 weeks out and went, oh, I don't think there's much we can really do in 4 weeks. Are you comfy? Yeah. Are you good? Yeah, yeah, like all good. And I just found it fascinating as you said that to reflect on that piece because there was no pressure there. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't a, oh my gosh, I need to drop the kilos to fit into this size perfect dress. We just had things made to fit us in the shapes and sizes that we were in. And
Yeah.
it was the best weekend ever. So
Oh,
it's that understanding why you're wanting to do the things you're wanting to do, I think is really powerful.
absolutely. I love that. That's so awesome for you guys.
No, it was fabulous. I mean, I'm not, we had the best time. I've even posted the photos all over the local newspapers and national papers because it was that much fun. Like I said, I
That's
was that
amazing.
person. I was that person of just like, yeah, I'll be that poster child for that self-confidence piece, which
Yes, I love
which has
that.
been a huge thing since ditching the wig for me. But I digress. I digress. So it is that self-love piece. And so to wrap up, I guess, the conversation, conversations with ourselves are also hugely important, like the language that we're using externally, but also internally to ourselves. Sometimes we say things to ourselves that we would never, ever say publicly to anyone else
Mhm.
about the way they are or the way they look or, any of those things. So, do you have any habits that people can, or like little rituals that people can pick up to start their day in a really good way, or just to remember to go, you look great today, and just have those little bits of self-confidence boosting, like mantras
Yeah.
almost?
Oh, I love it. So I'm big on affirmations and I actually have a podcast episode about bridging affirmations. What I mean by that is if you find yourself when you're saying affirmations to yourself in the mirror and you're starting to not believe them, like you start to say, I'm confident, and then your inner self, your inner thoughts start to go, you're not confident. Who do you think you are? Or something like that. I talk about bridging those and finding something that you do currently can hold on to as you step into that confidence. So definitely getting into that, I think would be really powerful. Um, one more other couple other things when
Mm.
it comes to this is, you know, starting off your day to where you're pouring into yourself. So don't immediately grab your phone. Instead, maybe do something that makes you feel good, whether it's, I know, I knew you were
Yes,
going to relate to
that
that one.
instant scroll, like
Oh, it's so, it's so ingrained in us. If you're touching your phone, you immediately go into those apps. They're created to be like that. But if you can instead take 10, even 30 minutes to, give yourself a little more love as you're getting ready. If you are, washing your face or putting on lotion, you could speak affirmations into yourself as you're putting that lotion on your body. It's something that's so small, but if you have, like me, dealt with years and years and years of speaking negatively towards your body, if you can actually speak positively into that body, how beautiful can that shift be within your relationship with you and your body? It's like it's night and day. It takes time, but it really does heal. And so that's something you can start doing for sure. If you are struggling with affirmations or just feeling like, I don't know what I love about myself, I highly recommend, like phone a friend, shoot them
Yeah.
a text and be like, what are 3 things you love about me? And then add those 3 things plus anything that else that comes to you, put them on a sticky note on your mirror. And then actually, when you read them, don't just read them and forget about it. Feel that in your body. Again, when you're reading those affirmations and feeling that in your body can hold that in and that can help heal again that relationship if you did struggle with that in the past. And then finally, my favorite thing when it comes to, feeling good in your skin would be to go naked more. So it sounds a little weird, but what I mean by that is, the metaphorically, getting more vulnerable with yourself, I think is a big thing. So I talked about today asking why. So starting to ask yourself, well, why am I speaking this way about myself? Why do I feel the need to have to lose weight? Why do just continue to kind of check in with yourself? That can be a good way to be vulnerable or get naked. And then, actually, being naked around your house. And that might sound a little bit scary for some people. You could do something like naked yoga. If that is like, hell no, heck no, You could just do something where you're wearing, maybe a little bit less clothing just for you. This is not for anyone else. This is just so that as you're doing yoga, as you're stretching, you're seeing your body. And instead of immediately jumping towards negative self-talk, you can be like, wow, body, thank you for being here right now in this moment. Thank you for, allowing me to sit and stretch and be in this space right now. And so something so simple as that, it might sound weird and crazy, but I promise you it makes so much of a difference. So hopefully you guys can take some of those things to heart and let me know which one works best for you. But yeah, I love talking about this stuff.
I absolutely love that final piece, just get naked. Like what's better than that, right? Like amazing. I love it. And what you had me at post-it notes, right? I am the post-it note queen. I love myself a good post-it note, a good affirmation on a post-it note, post-it notes for everything. So you
Yes.
had me at that and then you've just topped it. I love that. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom on the show. I've loved our conversation and we could chat for hours, but in respect for my listeners, who I do keep bite-sized podcasts for, we're going to have to cut this one off. But where can people find you, J.Go? I know they can tune into your podcast, but where do they find it?
Yeah, so we are streaming everywhere that podcasts are found. Confidently Uncomfortable with J.Go. That's the name of the episode. Definitely go listen to Rebecca's episode. That one be around the same time as this one airs. And you can also find me on TikTok or Instagram, J.Go Fit Life. I'll give you guys that for the show notes, or XO J.Go. Yeah, I gotcha.
Love it. Amazing. Thank you so much. We'll put that on the show notes. And thank you for tuning in, watching, and listening. We'll see you next time.